Hello and welcome. This is a presentation about the Read, Write, Pair, Share strategy, and my name is Laura Riggs. So what will you learn from this presentation? You will answer the questions: what are the steps for the strategy? What are the strengths and weaknesses of the strategy? And then how can this be applied in my classroom, most importantly? So first, what exactly is the Read, Write, Pair, Share strategy? Well, it's exactly like it sounds. The first step is the read step. In this step, the students read a passage of text silently or follow along while the teacher reads out loud. Now, this can be done in a variety of ways based on the reading level of the students. In the younger grades, it might be better for the teacher to read it aloud. In the older grades, they can probably read it silently. You could also incorporate other strategies such as echo or choral reading in this portion. The second step is the write step. So after students have read, they will quickly write down a response to the text. This is not intended to be a long, drawn-out process, but a short response to what they have just read. This might be guided, meaning that there's a question that they're supposed to be answering, or it might be unguided, where they can simply respond to what they have just read. After students have completed the read and the write, then they're formed into pairs, where they get paired with a partner to discuss what they have just read. This gives students some interaction and some time to respond verbally to what they have read. Finally, students go into the share part of the strategy, where the teacher leads a large group discussion with the entire class, where everyone has a chance to share what they have read, written, and talked about. So that's the strategy. Where in the world did this strategy come from? It is actually a variation of the Think, Pair, Share strategy. You might think this sounds familiar, and that's probably why. It's been around for a while. Since 1981, it was developed by Dr. Frank Lyman. He designed it as a cooperative process that allows students time to think before they responded. He noticed that it's hard for students to just instantly come up with answers to questions, and so he gave them a time to pair up and discuss it before they had to share it with the class. And so this is one of many variations, but one that specifically helps with literacy by incorporating reading and writing. So, what are the strengths and the weaknesses of the Read, Write, Pair, Share strategy? There are many strengths, and one of the biggest ones is that it increases confidence for students in sharing with the class. So, many students are not comfortable sharing in front of all of their peers. Using the Read, Write, Pair, Share, they have a chance to try out their answers with someone else. Actually, an article by Richard Solomon says that the pair portion allows for behavioral rehearsal time. So students have a chance to rehearse what they want to say in a safer environment than the entire class. This is really important for students who are reluctant or shy, because they are more likely to share from the whole class if they've had time to think and process and practice it before the opportunity. Also, this can be key for English language learners. They might benefit from this strategy because they have a low-risk way of making sure that their idea makes sense and that they can express it correctly before they share it with the whole class. And it's also been shown that girls are less likely to share in front of the whole class. And so the Read, Write, Pair, Share strategy might give girls a more comfortable setting to discuss their ideas rather than in front of the whole class. Another strength of the Read, Write, Pair, Share strategy is that it gets everyone engaged. It's difficult for whole class discussions because sometimes the same people respond every single time. As a teacher, we call on the same students that always have their hand raised. But with this strategy, even if everyone doesn't get a chance to share at the end, you know that every person has had a chance to engage with the text and write something down and then verbally process it with another person. Also, the Read, Write, Pair, Share strategy helps with classroom management. For example, if I simply said, okay students, read this and get together and talk about it, there might be chaos in my classroom. But with the Read, Write, Pair, Share, there is a specific structure that allows for stronger classroom management. One of my favorite parts about the Read, Write, Pair, Share strategy is that it is so versatile and can be used in almost any subject with almost any text. I have to admit, when I was looking through strategies to find one to present, several of them I thought just didn't work for what I was teaching. I just couldn't picture them. I could see them working in maybe a certain classroom with a certain age, but it's hard to find strategies that can be used in any unit, with any subject, with almost any passage. And this is one of them. And I'm going to give you a lot of ideas later for how that can be done. One of the weaknesses of the Read, Write, Pair, Share strategy is that there's a lot going on. There could be too many transitions and move too quickly for students, especially younger students that don't handle transitions really well. In the article, Effective Strategies for Engaging Adult Learners from the Journal of College Teaching and Learning, it said that one of the most important parts of using a strategy is to make sure to give students ample time to write and to share. And that can be so tempting for us teachers to try to push the students along. We have so much we're trying to get covered in such a short amount of time, but the quality of the activity depends on allowing time for the students. So that's one of the weaknesses that we might run into. And then the only other one I could think of was that it's hard to see what everyone is doing at once. There's a large chance that people will get off task and they won't be doing what they're supposed to be doing. But this does allow the teacher to roam around the classroom and to monitor what they are doing, and so that can be reduced. So how exactly can this be used in my classroom? I'm going to give you a variety of creative ideas of how you can do each portion of the Read, Write, Pair, Share strategy. And most of these ideas are very generic and can be applied to your classroom no matter what subject you teach. Personally, I'm a high school math teacher, but I try not to incorporate too many math problems to intimidate anyone. So, ideas for the read portion. This is an especially good strategy for reading a brand new passage that they have never encountered before. Perhaps it is a science book over a new concept that they have no familiarity with. Perhaps it is a math textbook that is automatically confusing. This strategy gives students some support and some scaffolding to process what they are reading. This is also a great strategy for introducing a new unit, so reading a passage over a brand new concept and allowing students to discuss and see what their beginning thoughts are before they hear it from the class. You could also have each student read another classmate's work. This could be an excellent proofreading or peer reviewing time. So give students some work of another person in class, have them read it, write down some comments, and pair up that person and share about them. So that it doesn't just have to be a published article in this read portion. You could use poetry, and you don't have to use the same thing for each person. Give each pair of students a different poem, and then allow them to share with the class at the end. Maybe give their students a piece of work they did earlier in the year. It's amazing when students realize how far they have come in just merely a year. And you give them something that maybe they didn't do extremely well on, and they can realize how much better they have done and how much they have learned. Of course, it's always a great idea to read a section of the textbook, and these can come with questions at the end. They're automatically a great lead-in for the right portion. You could print off an article from the internet. It'd be great if you had enough computers so that everyone in the class could read an article on the internet, but that may not be possible in all classrooms. So an article could be printed off. And finally, you could allow students a choice from several different passages or text. Sometimes we just try to get everybody to do the same thing, but allowing choice may actually also increase motivation. How can this be used in my classroom in the right portion? Well, one of my favorite ideas is to give students whiteboards to write on. Students may balk using pencil and paper, but they love to write on dry erase boards. This is still writing, but it gives students an extra incentive to participate. You could write specific questions or prompts on the board. This is especially important for students who might just have trouble getting started. They may not have the skills yet to just free response to a text, but they can answer specific questions. These questions could also be very generic, like, what have you learned? Or what are you confused by? Or they could be much more specific. Have the students write a letter back to the author. This could be fun, where the students write, "Dear Mr. So-and-so, I loved your book. but I was really confused by blank. But I really liked blank. And this gives students a creative way and an audience for their write portion. Perhaps we might allow students to complete this portion at home. This could be especially good for students who are on IEP who need some extended time. And it might take some of the pressure off of students who like to spend more time with their writing. And finally, you can incorporate technology. At least with my high school students, they love Facebook and they love commenting on other people's walls. So have them read something and then give them a form like this one where they can write a comment about the article, pretending like they're commenting on the author's Facebook page or something. This might increase creativity and you'd be amazed by what you'll get from students. What about the pair portion? It seems simple, pair two people up. Well, you can allow them to choose their own partner, or you can pair people up as they get finished. This can be really convenient because then you don't have students just waiting and waiting and waiting for the last person in class to get done. As students get finished, pair them up as they go. One of the things I like to do is to do something I call double groups. So you have the pairs and they're sharing with each other, but then after they finish, you pair up two pairs together. So you have a group of 4, and then these group of 4, each partner share what they have discussed. And this is good for something that's maybe more complex, if there's more discussion that could be had. It gives us an extra opportunity to have that behavioral rehearsal before they have to share it from the whole class. And of course, you can always assign students in pairs ahead of time, which can be very helpful if you've got students that should or should not work together. And finally, various grouping techniques. Teachers are so good at this. You could have students line up in a row based on their birthday and pair them off by who they're sitting by, hand them a playing card. So many creative ways to pair students up. And finally, the share portion. This does not just necessarily have to be a whole class discussion. You could have a gallery walk where the writings are portions where they write on pieces of paper posted around the room. The pairs go around and discuss what has been written on the things, and then for the whole group share portion, the teacher pulls the pieces of paper off the walls and reads what people have responded and leads the class in discussion like that. You can draw names from a basket so that everyone would get a chance to share equally. Like I said before, teachers have their favorites. Maybe they're not the favorite students, but they call on a certain person just because they think they're not paying attention or because they're sitting near the front. This allows everyone to get an equal chance, and it keeps people on their toes so they know that at any moment their name might be called next. You could put the desks in a circle so students can see each other. This takes a little bit of work in rearranging the room, but actually can create a fun atmosphere. Instead of the students just responding to the teacher, it creates the idea that the students aren't responding to each other, and the teacher is merely a facilitator. And you can read from students' written portions to the whole class. It's probably good to be careful about this and to have proofread them a little bit before. Most of all, be willing to share what you think as well. It is okay for the teacher to be part of the discussion. So be willing to share your thoughts on it as well as the students. So in conclusion, the read, write, pair, share strategy is a versatile and helpful strategy for a variety of students. It can be used in so many different classrooms in so many different ways, and it can be of real help for English language learners or people that have trouble sharing in front of a large group. And best of all, you can use a great deal of creativity to make this new and different each time. It does not have to be boring. It can be as creative as you can think of it. And it's a strategy that can be used over and over again, but just in different ways. So thank you for listening to this presentation. Here are my works cited. I hope you have a great day.